Hello, my name is Kimberly Collins. This is my instructional media's presentation on graphic organizers. Today I'm going to teach you how to use graphic organizers within your classroom. So graphic organizers are a great way to organize information. They use the same process that the brain does to encode and store information. They pull on prior knowledge to connect information in the same way that the human mind does, and this helps the brain to get past basic absorption and delve into critical thinking. As you can see, there's a humongous paragraph on this page, and I'm not going to read it all to you, but if you want to look over it, you can. I'm just going to go ahead and simplify all this for you by using a graphic organizer. So basically, the brain thinks like this. It has 3 different stages it goes through to put things into memory and then take them out. So first, when it gets new information, it encodes it by making mental representations of that information. Then that information moves into storing. It's placed into memory, and it can either be in short-term or long-term memory. And then once we need the information, we retrieve it. We go into the retrieving process, and that information is pulled from memory and taken into your present time. So graphic organizers use the same process your brain does in the encoding phase, and that's why graphic organizers work so well. So the brain's encoding system creates mental representations of information and connects that information to past experiences. Graphic organizers do the same thing. They take images and create mental storage systems from those images. Then they connect the information that you have just received, and they organize it in such a way that the brain can use it. Both of these systems are all about the connections that they make. So there are lots of different kinds of graphic organizers you can utilize in your classroom. You may use Venn diagrams, concept maps, mind maps, flowcharts, cause and effect charts, or KWL charts. Each of these are different types, and they can all be arranged in dozens of ways. There are even more kinds of graphic organizers. If you'd like to conduct a Google search on graphic organizers, I'm sure you could find tons more. But when you are working with graphic organizers, you have to realize that people think in different ways. So the way that your brain organizes information and stores it is not necessarily going to be the same way that someone else's does. Yes, they go through the same process, but their connections may be different. So when you're organizing information, you have to make sure that you're emphasizing the right parts for your lesson. So I have a nice graphic here. It says, "Look how neatly this text is organized." Didn't think so. As you can see, they're putting a lot of emphasis on the first half of the sentence rather than the last half, and the last half is actually the more important part, because the last half is what makes the sentence funny and comical. So in your lessons, just be aware of what you really are trying to stress with your graphic organizers, and don't put too much information, and don't put too irrelevant information in the graphic organizers. So some of the types you can use: Venn diagrams. Venn diagrams are used when you are comparing 2 different things. An example of this is if you are in a science class and you need to compare 2 different types of organisms or 2 different types of cells. You could say a plant cell and an animal cell. What's similar about them? What's different? Do they both have mitochondria? Do they both have a wall? Is that 2 things that are different about them? This just helps students organize that information and see what the similarities and differences are. It can be used in a wide range of topics, a wide range of subjects. Really, any subject can use this as long as you're comparing 2 different things. Concept maps are another form of graphic organizer that you can use. Concept maps are a lot like journal articles in a newspaper. So you have a bigger square or circle, whichever you use, and that is your title of your article. And then you have subheadings of your article, which are like baking supplies, dairy, fresh produce, meat. And then you have the actual content, which would be like the fish and chicken, the sugar and the flour. And it just organizes the information below the subheadings. So this can be really great for listing items. It can also be really great for if you have a large topic that you're covering and you want a kid to break it down more. So, for instance, on this one you have groceries to buy. So if you're at the grocery store and you need to figure out what section you need to go to, you look over here and you see meat, so you're in the meat section. You don't want to go over here and buy yogurt and milk. You want to buy whatever's connected to meat. So you want to buy fish and chicken. So that just helps students to realize what is connected, how it's connected, and what really doesn't connect. So mind maps are also another great graphic organizer. Mind maps are primarily used for note-taking and brainstorming. They're really great for students to create. So within your classroom, I encourage you to show students how to use mind maps, and then students will take notes in that way, and that helps them to make long-lasting connections with the material. So as you can see, this mind map is on how to create a mind map. You don't take sides, you don't be a perfectionist. You go deeper into the content and you share what you've learned. So, for example, you need to use both sides of your brain. So you'll have, if this is the topic of evolution, what do I already know about evolution? What can I connect to evolution? Well, I know that evolution is a science, and it says that men came from primates, and that could be one section of your mind map. So I might say evolution, and then I might say men came from apes, and then I might say theory from Bill Nye. And then over here I might say that religion is connected to evolution, and that people that are religious may or may not believe in it. There's two sides to that. And then I might say down here, well, what movies have I seen that are connected to evolution? Well, I've seen Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park deals with evolution. And then over here I might say, well, what is an example of evolution? What have I seen out in the world that's kind of shows evolution? Can fish fly? Can birds swim? Is there anything correlating that makes me think of evolution? So you can see how students can take it and make connections to different things in their life. And not all of these connections are going to be tested for. Really, the only one you're probably going to test for in your classroom is this section of science-based evolution content. But the connections with religion, with movies, and with what they've seen in the real world, those will help them to build long-lasting connections with the content, which means when they get to college and they're asked about evolution, they can remember through 3 or 4 different routes instead of simply trying to remember the one route that you took in the classroom. So this is really great for brainstorming, really great for taking notes. It can be used in any classroom. It can be used in math class, English class, history, science. It's just all about making connections outside of the classroom. Flowcharts are another great example of graphic organizers. Flowcharts generally show a sequence of events or steps that you take to reach a conclusion. So in this case, when you're buying new software, this would be for more of a business class. These are the steps to take to buy new software. So you have to download a trial version, you have to select the version you want to buy, and then you have to pay for it. And this is where divergent thinking comes in, because there's 2 different options to pay for the software that you're buying. But they both come into the same conclusion of this is the product. So you may use this for students to show how they reached an answer. You could do that in a math class very easily. Students get a problem, and then they have to show how they got an answer and how you wanted them to get an answer. Or you could use it in an English class when you're talking about there's a character and they have to make a decision. So these are the steps leading up to the decision. This is the decision that has to be made, and this is the decision that the student thinks they will make, or another decision that the student thinks that the character could make. So if they chose to go this route, what would happen? If they chose to go this route, what would happen? And they don't always have to meet up at the end. They can go in all different directions. But this is just an example of how to show students divergent thinking through flowcharts. These flowcharts can be used in a number of ways. It's all about what you want to do as a teacher and what your students want to do. Another great graphic organizers is cause and effect charts. Cause and effect charts, just like they sound, they have a causation and they have a problem or a solution, something that happened because of the cause. So in this example, this is for a business class. The problem we're going to say is warranty claims coming in to the business. So the problem is warranty claims. What caused it? Management was underpaid, so they didn't check the equipment, which needed repairs, so the equipment failed. So it produced shoddy materials, which means that the products failed, which means you get warranty claims for your customers. That's just a business example. You could use it in history to say what caused the Civil War. You could use it in science to say what caused the Big Bang, if that's what you're covering. Any class you could really use this, as long as there's a cause and an effect or a solution or a problem or something that happened that you're trying to figure out why. KWL charts, these are the best graphic organizers for teachers to use when they're trying to find formative assessments and pre-assessments. The pre-assessment for this particular chart, it says what I already know and what I want to know. So K and W are both to be done before a lesson generally, and it helps you to see what the students already know about the topic and what they are actually wanting to know, what would really engage them in the topic. It also helps the students to make a connection from material that they are going to cover and past material that they've already covered or something in their life that they know about that connects to the material. Then you have the what I learned column, which the L is for when you're doing an assessment after you have taught the material, so it tells students what they learned so that they can go home and tell their parents, hey, this is what I learned today. And they know what they learned and they think on what they learned. This, if I was a teacher teaching in my own classroom, I would definitely focus on the W column, because in the what I want to know, you can see what is going to really engage your students. And that is the material that is like the navigation of the migratory birds, the migration triggers. You might not actually cover that. And that might be something you want to incorporate next year because you see that students really are wanting to know these things. Or it might be something you incorporate on a day when you don't have a lot of material to cover. Maybe you'll go online and find a simulator for birds flying and put in obstacles in their path and figure things out that way. It's just a place where you can get creative with your students and really engage them. Here's some resources for graphic organizers if you want to create one. eDrawSoft has free software for you to create your own graphic organizers. It also gives you sample diagrams for various subjects and lesson plans for various subjects with the use of graphic organizers. It's a really great website. I really encourage you to go on there and try and test it out and see the software, because it really is good when you want to create a graphic organizer from scratch. There's also teachhub.com, teaching graphic organizers. This is a site that gives you more information about graphic organizers. It specifically deals with learners with diverse needs. So students with ELL backgrounds and students with special needs, graphic organizers are highly beneficial for, and this is why. This is a quote from the website that states that Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences posits that students are better able to learn and internalize information when more than one learning modality is employed in an instructional strategy. Since graphic organizers present material through visual and spatial modalities and reinforce what is taught in the classroom, the use of graphic organizers helps students internalize what they are learning. So that's just a really great way of saying that graphic organizers reach across learning styles. They have both the visual and the spatial component. They can also have a tactile component depending on how you make it. If you want to put it on a poster board or you want to put something on the ground and students fill it in, anything like that, you can make it a spatial activity. It's already visual, it's already spatial. You can make it a kinesthetic activity. It stretches across the learning styles and it shows the diverse needs of learners. Students with ELL backgrounds especially need visual representations of material because they don't know the language well enough to read a giant paragraph and understand it. Students with reading disabilities can't read a whole content of material, but they can read short ideas within bubbles in graphic organizers. And it really helps those students because they have trouble making connections when they have to read it from a textbook. Another great website, this is Holt Interactive. This is a website with dozens of graphic organizers that include teacher's notes and lessons. So it shows you dozens of graphic organizers you can use, and it has them categorized, and then it also has teaching notes on those. So teachers have actually used this and put what they used it for and how it was beneficial in their classroom on there for you to look at as a teacher. It's a really great resource if you're a beginner in the world of graphic organizers. I really encourage you to go on it and look it up. And this is just another graphic organizer for you to look at. It's a great way of showing that you can use pictures as well as words to get a point across in graphic organizers. Graphic organizers really are great for students that aren't up to the reading level of other students. It really helps them to see the information and be able to make the connections. So I really encourage you, if you have students that have reading disabilities, to try to use a graphic organizer because I think you will see a difference. And I really think graphic organizers are great for all learning types and all students. So I really encourage you to go to these websites and look them up and see what graphic organizers can be used in your classroom to benefit your students.